Hey guys, it's BlockchainBrad, and today we are talking about NKN. That's right, the new kind of network. We are speaking with the co-CEO with Bruce Lee. Bruce, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Brad. It's always a pleasure, and especially you are our first YouTuber video reviews, and for the first 4 months of our company. So I feel honored to be invited back for this update.
Likewise, mate. The honour's all mine, I can assure you. Now, for those who don't know about NKN, it is very specifically our blockchain itself. It is a blockchain platform. It is all about the decentralized internet connectivity and networking. So once again, they are trying to build out something unique, and they are trying to build something on a blockchain platform. So Bruce, today the idea is to provide people with an update on the inner workings of NKN, and also anything that you've been doing of late. Let's start with the topic of the day. We'll get straight to it. Let's talk about Binance. Now, obviously at the moment there is a voting system going on. Can you tell us a bit about what that is? And you know, what's your intentions by having yourselves on that voting system?
Right. So Binance have this community coin of the month competition. So typically every month they will do that. So only the top projects can be shortlisted. So we are really fortunate to be shortlisted as the top 5 projects for this month's competition. So basically, if you win the top spot and you get a free listing on Binance within a kind of reasonable amount of time. So that's kind of the benefit. But I see it more about also raise the awareness of the different projects and also kind of really rally the community behind it. So I think we really are very eager to participate and give our best shot to win.
I see. Now let's talk about the impact that it could have. Now, you mentioned that you want to rally the community, but what could it mean for NKN if it was successful and it did win the vote?
So if everything goes like that, I think we'll be super happy. And so maybe within a few weeks, we'll be listed on Binance. And I think there's a few things will be very positive. First of all, will be more liquidity. So Binance is the preeminent, the biggest crypto assets exchange in the world. So that gives people the opportunity to participate, not only for individuals, but also for institutions. So I think that's quite important.
Right.
The second one is really give the community an additional confidence that we are making progress on the technology side, but also making progress on the business side as well.
I see. Well, let's talk about that progress at the moment, Bruce. Now, you mentioned that you intimated that you are making progress in both in NKN at the moment, and it's been a while since we have spoken. So in terms of the product progress itself, obviously you have things like test nets coming up. Can you talk us through some of the key developments that you've made?
Right. We made tremendous progress in the development. Maybe we made more progress than we thought we could. Mm-hmm. So that's always a good sign. So for example, the last month, June the 12th, we open source our software. So everybody can see actually our core competition and also core development and core code.
Okay.
And that's one.
So that's important for transparency. I mean, we've seen situations where people haven't disclosed their code and that's been an issue. But what you're saying is that you've released the whole lot.
Yes, we published everything. So like you said, transparency is key, right? If you want everybody's phone to run a piece of software, if you want to go to AT&T or T-Mobile and convince them to put a piece of software on their equipment, you have to be 100% transparent and have to be open source. Otherwise, nobody would trust to run an anonymous piece of code on this very critical infrastructure or even on their phones as well.
Sure. So obviously within that, you've had developments in your mining mechanisms as well. Can you talk us through some of that development and any other project progress that you've made?
Right. So on June the 16th, we launched our preview testnet. So this testnet is very important because we want to show both the data relay works and the mining mechanism works. So, and the consensus agreement are very important. So we started with 15 nodes globally. Okay. So actually one of them in Sydney, Australia.
That's good.
So that's 15 regions from all around the world built on the Google Cloud. So that gives people a sense how the whole system works. And so far it's a closed network. So we can actually ask people to use our SDK. The next piece we did is the open source or publish our SDK. Mm-hmm. So people actually can build a very simple, for example, instant messaging application without any server using 4 to 5 lines of code. I mean, in terms of the messaging part, right? So that's quite powerful. So they can use actually our 15-node test network as a relay network without any servers.
I see,
so,
and that will no doubt build out the network itself. You know, that's part of your name too. But Bruce, I want to talk to that a little bit more, in that some people perhaps have been confused in the past about you or your title as a network, and that's why I introduced you as a blockchain. Can you talk a bit about how you are actually a blockchain?
Right. So for all these nodes to get the reward and to prove that actually they have helped other people to relay traffic and have contribute to sharing economy, we have to have a very robust consensus algorithm and blockchain technology. It's fully decentralized. So when we started out, and I mean earlier this year, late last year, we look at all different public blockchain technology, could be Ethereum, could be Stellar, and etc. We did not find a platform that scaled to the level we want. So when we talk about scalability, I'm not talking about transaction per second. I think that's a different focus for lots of other projects. We are really talking about how many nodes can reach consensus globally. So if you look at the communication network, it's easily millions or even trillions of devices and the equipment need to reach consensus. So we have not found any public chain to do that. So that's the reason we invented our own public blockchain and use a consensus algorithm called Cellular Automata, which is a little bit difficult to pronounce, but actually that actually works for that kind of scale.
And as we talked about previously, that Cellular Automata is unique to your design. It's not something that came from NKN, but it's something you adopted as like an integral feature of NKN and built it forward. Now, what's your vision in terms of the future with regard to those nodes? You mentioned 15 now around the world. Do you envision that there'll be a lot more to come?
Definitely. So right now we start to ramp up our test network. So the idea is to reach between 1,000 to 1,500 by end of August. And then once we can test this network on a 1,000 node kind of scale, we can open up to the community. So everybody can start to build their own node and join the network and start to do some experimental mining or application development.
I see. So is that, in that respect, is that where we see the utility aspect, when people can start to apply in much the same respect of we've seen dApps applied, in that, with that concept onto platforms. This works in similar ways with regard to utilizing the platform of NKN in the real sense of people experimenting with what they can do with it.
Definitely. That's definitely. I mean, people already can use the 15 nodes, but that's kind of, we still have, we own the nodes, right? So once you open the network, everybody can join the network and build their own application. Then I think it's a truly decentralized and public chain.
I see. So in the near future, it'll be really opening up, I would imagine, from what you're saying. Now, can we talk about your business development as well? What's happening on that front?
So we are actually working pretty well. So, the bigger companies, we have NDA. So typically it takes a little longer and we cannot really disclose beforehand. So suffice to say, we are working with 2 top-tier US carriers and 1 top-tier European carriers on both a proof of concept and also plan for field trials. So we can show some kind of demo already in October. So we are joining the Telecom Infrastructure Project Summit 2018 in London. So that's sponsored by Facebook. So we intend to show some demo case jointly with some carriers in that event.
So you said it's sponsored by Facebook. Now they are obviously part of the centralized, business sphere. Surely you must be excited to have the attention of those kind of markets at the moment, given that you are a new model of business.
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. So Facebook, I think they want their business model is have more users, they have more data and more money. So they want to address the next billion user problem, right? So how can they get access to the users in the developing countries who might not even have internet connectivity, right? So that's the reason they sponsor this kind of program, because that give the people the internet connection where they are not today. So in turn, they will actually start to use applications like Facebook or Google Maps. So to get that, they need to sponsor some kind of infrastructure build out. So that's the reason they are sponsoring Telecom Infrastructure Project, which is open source hardware and software for telecom infrastructure. But I see still there's a challenge, because most of these companies, they want to put a little bit seed money. So they can probably sponsor a few villages or a few towns to build up more kind of showcase. infrastructure, but there's not kind of systematic system to really help build out the next billion user. So we think we can come in to say, okay, we can have this token economy, so we can actually help to help everybody in the next billion user regions to build out a new kind of telecommunication infrastructure without even you have to sponsor. Well, they will not sponsor. I'm quite sure they don't have the budget for it, but let people to build their own network, share the network, and pay for itself by using the token economy.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. So obviously you're focused not just on the developed world, but also the developing. Clearly you see potential for NKN to have that reach globally. Now, I want to ask you a bit about what you mentioned with top tier. Now, you say that you're affiliated with top tier telecommunication companies. Can you talk us through what you actually mean? So, trying to dig a bit deeper here.
Yeah. I don't want to say names. I just some companies on the same level as AT&T's and T-Mobile's and Vodafone, that level.
Okay.
But
So
it's not those companies.
Sure. So if it's that level, Bruce, are we talking billion-dollar companies?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. Now, Bruce, if we could talk a little bit more about your future plan and with regard to partnerships you've forged, talk us through those, perhaps even in the crypto world. What's going on with your plan?
So one of the plan is continue with the ecosystem development with the telecom industry. So we'll showcase in London and also get into the business deployment a little bit later. Excuse me. And then with equipment vendor, today actually we announced a partnership with a project that's sponsored by Nokia called Database. So this is an online data market. It's like an application on top of blockchain. So we are having some kind of strategic partnership, how they can utilize our blockchain to support their application. So we'll expand that scope to work with more application developers. And we are doing lots of hackathons to make sure that the future of the decentralized kind of Facebook messengers and Facebook's or WeChat will be built on our networking SDK. So that's on the application side. But we also want to work with kind of the grassroots kind of support. So everybody can actually run their node at home and do some mining at home, either to supplement their income or just kind of get some kind of additional money to pay back their internet connection fees, right? So we do want to work with the community, because I think at the end of the day, you cannot just rely on a few big partners. They will make it faster to do, but I think the mass adoption and decentralization is key for the success.
So you're obviously supporting the layperson, the person who wants to understand how they could be a participant in NKN via the mining particularly. Now let's talk about that in the context of your social position with regard to social media, with regard to community engagement. What are you doing as an entity and as a project and perhaps even as a company to really ensure the community are involved and that they can access information when they need it?
Right. So I think actually one of the funny things is to get everybody to vote for Binance seemed to be the best way to unite the whole community. I mean, before this vote, and everybody was talking about different things, why the market is not so great, why the coin price is not so great. But now I think we have united. But also I think our community, size of the community almost doubled over the last week or so because of the interest pouring in. So we'll build on that strength, especially the grassroots support from the community to make sure that we reach out to more people to understand NKN project, and also combine with our launch of the next phase of testnet and our SDK and our mining kit, so the people can start to experiment on our network. It's still testnet, so it's not final token, right? So it's still testnet, but we might have a mechanism, even if you mine on this testnet, the kind of the temporary token can be eventually converted to the final token. So we want to incentivize people to do mining even with the testnet as well.
I see. So obviously you've got mechanisms in there to inform people post-Binance voting system, regardless of what comes of that. Obviously there are several different parties involved, I think 4 or 5. Now, I just want to clarify with you, your strategies are to ensure that people are informed. So can you talk us through the actual medium or the media that you do have? You have my understanding, you have a Telegram, you have Twitter. What other access, and how can people find out more and ensure that they can maintain this information flow?
Yeah, I think the Telegram group, we have a few groups, so a Chinese group, English group, and we have the news channel. So those are probably the most up-to-date kind of channels, especially the news channel. It's like the announcement channel. So the latest. Our Twitter account is very active. We publish our blogs on the Medium. That's our kind of main kind of like a blog platform. Increasingly, we're using Discord for developer kind of community, because I think we see more and more developer joining the community. So those are kind of the main channels that we're using. We didn't use Facebook so much, and or other kind of social platforms. We do use Reddit a bit, but we will improve upon it. So just a quick comment about the marketing side. We hired a few really high caliber marketing specialists in the last 2 days, 4 days now. So Chelsea joining in San Francisco Bay Area, and Diana and Sean in Beijing. So they will actually strengthen our community reach and the overall brand building as well.
I see. So obviously you've added people to your team. How is your team going, and how has it evolved? Even the core team of developers and technologists, engineers, have you been increasing that number?
Yes. So I think we are steadily increasing, but not a lot. So I think now it's maybe about 20, slowly increasing. The main reason is, I think, for the core part of the software, you don't need too many people, right? So it's actually very complex, but need high skilled people. So we're increasing the marketing side, and also we're increasing the front end. So we try to build kind of the user experience, the UI. For example, for the SDK and for our demo application, so normal user can use it. So one of the things is about miner, right? So today, if you go to our GitHub, you can start a full node and start mining right away. But that needs a developer kind of background. So we want to do a kind of push button kind of miner application version people can just install without using any kind of software development skills. So that's kind of the reason we're increasing on the front end, the developer side as well. So that's kind of overall our. So we're still hiring. We're looking for researchers and developers both in San Francisco Bay Area and also in Beijing, and of course great developers and marketing and community as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a privilege to speak with you, Bruce Lee. You are obviously a co-CEO and co-founder of NKN. And that, for those who don't know, it is actually a blockchain platform, as well as being a new kind of network, a brand new one in fact, focused on decentralized internet connectivity and networking. So thank you once again. Now, obviously, for those people who aren't aware, it is part of a voting system right now for Coin of the Month on Binance. It's up to you to decide whether or not you want to support any of them, or if in fact you are a supporter of this system itself. But once again, Binance, as Bruce has explained, has a huge impact on the top tier projects and whether or not they will continue forward and have a mainstay position. So as someone who's been following NKN and trying to understand it, Bruce, thank you very much for your time. I wish you all the very best, and I look forward to having more updates with you in the future.
Thank you, Brad. It's always a pleasure to talking to you. And for the audience, thank you for listening, and please vote for NKN.
Thanks very much, Bruce.